I currently have 17 different things in my queue, with only 3 of them not being sweaters. So that means I have 14 sweaters in my queue right now. So I don't think I'll be able to work through all of these next year, but I like having it all organized there so we can talk through it together. Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kristen, the host behind this little corner of the internet. Do So Knits is where I just share with you guys how knitting and other fiber crafts have interwoven into my life. So with 2024 right around the corner and 2023 coming to an end, it's crazy to think that just in 2 days is 2024. I've been doing a lot of reflecting on my yarn stash and the projects that I want to make next year. So the things that I have the most in my yarn stash are sweater quantities. It can be called an SQ for short, but basically it's just the amounts of yarn that I have in my stash that are enough to make a sweater. I have quite a few. I've fallen into that trap of buying is definitely a faster hobby than knitting. So I have quite a few sweater quantities in my stash that I would like to work through in 2024. So that's what this video is all about. I'm going to be sharing with you the sweater quantities that are in my stash and the plans that I have for them. I have gone through all of my yarns, and basically everything that is a sweater quantity I have pulled one skein of. I have made my queue on Ravelry with patterns plus yarn combos that I plan to make. There are quite a few on there, and my goal really for 2024 is to work through these sweater quantities. I'm unsure if I'm going to actually be able to work through all of them, but I've paired the yarns to pattern combo, paired them up so that we can see, and I like using the queue feature in Ravelry in order to keep everything organized, keep those pairings together. There is nothing saying that I can't change a yarn to go to another project later. If I want to destash something, everything's up in the air, but I like having this plan kind of going into 2024. So that's what this video is going to be today. I'm going to share with you the sweater quantities that I have in my stash, the patterns that I plan to make with them, and yeah, we're just gonna kind of sit and chat. I'll be talking about the patterns, the designers, a little bit of yarn details, and maybe what drew me to the pattern. But I hope you have something cozy to drink, maybe something to work on, maybe have your Ravelry queued up ready if you want to save any of these patterns. Everything will be linked in the description below. I will link to the Ravelry pattern pages, and then I have all the yarns in my stash. If you'd like to look at the yarn details, you can check out my queue on Ravelry and you'll be able to see the patterns and yarn combos that I've made. It'll also be linked down below. So with that, let's dive in and see what plans I have for next year. So I just double checked, and I currently have 17 different things in my queue, with only 3 of them not being sweaters. So that means I have 14 sweaters in my queue right now. So I don't think I'll be able to work through all of these next year, but I like having it all organized there so we can talk through it together. So one of the oldest things in my queue that I want to make, I've had the yarn for this for such a long time, is the Eastwind jacket by Emily Foden. This pattern is from the book Knits About Winter. It is a coat pattern essentially. It's DK with a mohair held together. It's very oversized. It's knit in pieces, and you have outside sewed on pockets, really cute toggle buttons. I have the buttons, I have the yarn, I have everything for this pattern. So the yarns that I have are Yorkshire Spinners Fleece, Jacobs DK. This is going to be my main color, and I'm going to hold that with Rowan Kid Silk Haze. So this is what I plan to hold together for my main color throughout this essentially jacket. This color is medium gray, and this color by Rowan is made in Romania, which is not helpful. Let me see. This color is called Smoke. So those are going to be my two main colors. And then you have like an accent color that's like on the edge of the cuffs and on the like edge of the pocket lining. And I just have another gray that I'll hold for those accent pops. This is also West Yorkshire's WYS Jacobs DK, and it is a light gray. So this is what I plan to use in my Eastwind jacket. The West Yorkshire Spinners is a DK. It's 100% British wool, and it's 100% Jacobs wool, with the Rohan Kids Silk being a 70% mohair, 30% silk lace weight held together. So it'll knit up close to a DK to worsted gauge. But this has been in my queue for quite a while. I've had the Knits About Winter book for such a long time. I was watching Kat. She made an Eastwind jacket, and I'll show a picture, but hers was gorgeous, and that's what's made me want to make this jacket for so long. So this is actually something that I need to cake up this, and I need to do a swatch, because once I finish one of the two sweaters that is on my needles right now, this is what's getting cast on next. So once that swatch, I need to swatch now, and then once one of those sweaters is done, I plan to cast this on, because I want to start it while it's still kind of cold here. Because that's what happens every year, is winter comes and I'm like, man, I wish I had started my Eastwind jacket. I would love to wear it, and I don't have it. And then I never get around to actually casting it on, and then it's not winter time anymore. And then the next winter comes and I want it. So I want to cast it on in this winter season. But that's my first sweater quantity plan. All right, so the next one I'm going to talk about, and I want to preface going into these, this is my number 2. These are not in any particular order. This is not any order of how I plan to knit these, other than the Eastwind jacket I want to cast on first. Otherwise, it's no holds barred. There's no order or rhyme or reason, other than I'm going to talk through how they're in my queue right now. So the next pattern and yarn combo pairing I have is for the Traveler Hoodie by Andrea Mowry. This is a pullover hoodie, slightly cropped with a like garter kind of texture. It's knit in a sport weight yarn. Andrea released it in April of 2023, and I've been wanting to make this. I originally had this yarn in stash for another project, but have bought more to make the Traveler Hoodie. So this is Wool the Andes Sport. It's the non-superwash base. It's the sport weight in the color Midnight Heather. So it's a nice navy blue with, like, you see these little lighter, brighter blue that comes through. Very cool. Wool the Andes is one of my go-to sweater yarns. It's nice and cost effective, and I had this in my stash originally to do a DRK everyday sweater, but then once the Traveler came out, I was like, this will be a perfect go-to staple in this like navy kind of color. So this is 100% Peruvian Highland wool, sport weight, and it'll be just a really simple, easy sweater. The pattern is bottom up, which is something that still kind of I struggle with fitting. I plan to, with this pattern, to do the hooded option. There's either a crew neck or a hood. I want to do the hood. And I just like this pattern because it just looks like a really comfy, cozy sweatshirt. And that just sounds nice. I've made Shane a Montrealer, which is a sweatshirt, and he wears that all the time. So I'd like a sweatshirt for me as well. And I just envision this like a perfect, you know, going on an airplane kind of hoodie where it's warm, but it's cropped, so it's comfortable. I don't know. I just really like the fit of it. And I know sometimes people get caught up because Andrea can kind of, like, her crop can be really short, but I'm also short-waisted, so I think her length will fit really nicely with my body as well. So I have quite a bit of yarn for this, and this is on my list to make as well. All right, so the next pattern that is in my queue is the Stick Season Sweater by Rebecca Clow. I love this sweater. I applied to test knit this sweater, but apparently everyone applied to test knit this sweater, so I did not get picked. But it has since come out, and I've loved this sweater since it has come out. It is a Guernsey style sweater, drop shoulder, yoke detailed, like knit purl texture with like a really beautiful ribbing down the side seam. It's just gorgeous. It's a DK weight yarn. It was released in November of 2023, and I just love it so much. Specifically like the texture that's around the sleeve and down the side. I love it. So the yarn that I plan to use with this is Brooklyn Tweed Imbue. It's another navy-ish kind of blue color. This is the color Boro. And this is technically, it's a worsted weight, but I think I'm going to be able to get the gauge, even though this pattern is written in DK. It's such a soft, lovely yarn. It is worsted spun, and I believe it's 100% merino. I'm not 100% sure. Let me look on the inside. I'm not 100% sure what the fiber is. It doesn't seem to say on the label. But it's 100% wool made in the United States. It's a 5-ply. It's really super soft and squishy. I originally bought this when Brooklyn Tweed was having some sale. And I bought enough to make Shane a sweater. So that is who this sweater is going to be for. I originally bought this intending to do a Gib 2 by Andrea Mowry, but then I had swatched for the Gib 2. Did not enjoy swatching, so I have switched to wanting to make the Stick Season sweater with this yarn. Shane is very knit-worthy. He wears the hoodie I made him all the time, so I need to make him another sweater. Right now I have a sweater for him on the needles, so I don't know when I'll make him another one, but this is something that is on my list. I also want to make a Stick Season for myself, but I don't have yarn. I don't have yarn for myself right now to make one, but I love the little bright specks in this yarn. I think it's gorgeous. It's super soft, so I think it will knit up really nicely, and I'm excited to make this one. I love the Stick Season sweater so much. It's such a good design, and I love it. So that is definitely one on my list, and probably one that I'll knit sooner rather than later. I'm a little on the fence about, not a ton because I plan to make it, but I'm just on the fence because everyone has said that this sweater is a slog. So, any guesses? The next one I'm talking about is the Tessellated Pullover by Andrea Mowry. This was her Rhinebeck sweater for 2023. It was released in July, and it's a sport weight pattern, but you hold a sport weight main color with, she used Spin Cycle dyed in the wool, which is that marley color changing yarn, and then a fuzzy yarn such as Odang, which is what she used in this pattern. So what's fun about this one is I was able to go stash diving in order to make this sweater quantity happen. So as I mentioned with my traveler hoodie, I have another sweater quantities of Wool of the Andes in the sport weight, non-superwash. This is Bramble Heather, so it's like a light brown, very simple, some heather variation, but just a nice brown. I initially also bought this to do the DRK Everyday Sweater. I just bought 2 sweater quantities of sport weight yarn. But in my stash, I also had 3 skeins of Farmer's Daughter Fibers Odang, and this is the color Olive Oil. It is a lace weight Surrey alpaca. It's what Andrea used in the pattern, but it is 74% Surrey and 26% silk. I had 3 skeins of this, so essentially I have enough for the fuzzy part of the yarn. And then I started spinning some of my Malabrigo Nube, and then that's when this brainchild came together. So this year I did spin 3 braids of Malabrigo Nube. I think this color is Monteza. I'll have my handspun linked below, but I got enough to do this, and this is going to be my color changing yarn throughout. So it's like a really pretty chartreusey with browns, a little bit of orange, but this is going to be my tessellated pullover. So the brown is going to be my main color. It'll mostly be the ribbing and the background detail, with this being my color changing, and then the olive oil being, you know, I feel like whatever color is your suri kind of makes the whole sweater kind of look that hue, but the color changing yarn kind of shows the character. So I'm hoping these play well together, because the one is definitely more olive and the other is a little more chartreuse. So I do need to do a swatch to kind of make sure that this is going to work out. That's another reason I'm a little timid. But the other reason I'm timid is just because everyone who's knit it says it's a slog, because it's mosaic knitting, which means you basically knit each row twice in order to get that length. I think it'll look really, really pretty. It is a drop shoulder construction. Again, it's another bottom up, but I think if I could nail the sizing, it'll be good. I love a relaxed fit sweater, and it would just be really fun to have a sweater that features some of my hand spun. And I'm pretty proud of this hand spun. I think it turned out really well. There's definitely thick and thins, but I've really realized with knitting with a few projects with my hand spun, those thick and thins really blend in. So, do we think this will make a good tessellated? That's the question. But it's on my queue, and I spun this yarn specifically for it. I think it'll work. If anything, I may have to change the suri, but I really hope I don't have to. So, that is my plans for the tessellated pullover. Okay, so this next one I think will be fun and a nice kind of more budget knit. The next pattern that I want to talk about is the Turtle Dove Cardigan, which was released in the Lina issue number 18 earlier in 2023. Came out in September. But this is a play on the Turtle Dove sweater, which is like a really relaxed, oversized raglan sweater. This is a similar thing, but it's a cardigan. I originally saw this on the Grocery Girls. Tracy was wearing this, and it just looks so comfy, and I love the like half mock neck. It's so cute. So this pattern calls for 2 lace weights held together plus a fingering weight, and that can be like a hard amount to have, especially having double the amount you need for a lace weight. But I have a lot of this Aloft by Knit Picks, which is a lace weight. It is the color Labyrinth, and it's 72% Super Kid Mohair and 28% silk. I have a lot of this because I originally bought it to do like a long cardigan. So I have a ton. So I have enough to hold this double. Plus, I have Knit Picks Palette, which is a fingering weight yarn, 100% Peruvian Highland wool. And this is the color Shire Heather. So I plan to hold 2 strands of this together, plus 1 strand of this, for a really fun green cardigan. I think it'll be really nice. It'll definitely be a lot of purling, which will be fine. But I think they play really well together, and I think it'll just be a really nice staple in my wardrobe. It's quite oversized, a bit open. I love cardigans, and I would really like to knit more. It's just getting past that, you know, all the purling, which I think is what everyone kind of has to get past. However, this is knit at a very loose gauge. It's 16 stitches per 4 inches. So, even though it's 2 strands of mohair and 1 strand of fingering, it won't be too much. It's not like a 20 stitch gauge. It's 16 stitches per 4 inches. That's 4 stitches an inch. So I think it'll go pretty quickly. So this is on my queue. This is one I think I would like to knit pretty early as well, just because the mohair may be a bit warm. So I think if this is something, if I don't knit it by the time spring starts coming and things start warming up, it'll probably be like a next fall kind of project. But with both the yarns being from Knit Picks palette is super affordable, and their Aloft is a little more expensive comparatively, but it's way less expensive than like a hand-dyed Surrey. I haven't knit with the Aloft yet, so I'm not sure how to hold up. I have read some reviews that it is pretty, like very fuzzy, like sheds a lot. So if you've knit with it, let me know what your thoughts are with Aloft. Like I said, I have a lot of it, so part of me thinks I might just knit it anyway. If anything, it'll just be a really nice warm cardigan, question mark. But I hope it doesn't shed too much. I guess we'll see. And if you guys don't know, I'll knit with it and I'll let you know. But I have knit with palette before. I've made Musselburgh hat, which I love. I made my fingerless mitts. It is a really nice non-superwash fingering weight yarn to have for things, and there's like so many colors. So I do really like palette. So that is the next thing on my queue. So then the next one, this is one I've kind of had to Mod Podge some yarns to fit a pattern. So sometimes a lot of these are things that were like, I want to make a pattern and I buy the yarn for it. I find that to be a simpler process versus having yarn and then trying to find a pattern to go with it. That is a harder process, and we're kind of moving into that territory now of my queue. Most of the remaining, other than I think maybe 1 or 2 sweater quantity and yarn combos, I knew what I wanted to make and I bought it together. Now we're kind of moving into, you know, maybe I bought it for something initially, but my plans have changed, so I've had to kind of figure some things out, or I just bought it with no plan in mind, which then leads down a tricky rabbit hole of, do I have enough yardage to make anything that I want to make? So that's kind of what this first one is. So this first one is, I'll show you the yarn and then we'll talk about the yarn, the pattern possibilities. So the first one is Leading Men Fiber Arts. This is the show or the spotlight base, which is 80% superwash BFL and 20% nylon. I bought this from Interweave Knits 2 years ago. It looks a little more red on screen. It's very plummy. The colorway is Marauder. So think like Gryffindor red. Very dark and moody. And then I have bought this Aerial by Berroco, which is a lace weight silken mohair. This one is 65% mohair and 35% silk in the colorway Plum. I don't think it's really purple. It looks a lot more maroony to me, but I plan to hold these together to knit a sweater. Now, I originally bought 3 skeins of this, which is only 1,200 yards. Which for me, being not on the small end, I'm usually in the middle, usually like a size 5 or 6, because I have a pretty big bust and I'm not small. This is a little bit of a stretch for a sweater for me. I originally was going to make a tee with it, and 3 skeins of fingering weight should be plenty for that. However, I've changed my mind. I've now got the Plum because I'm thinking of making a Cozy Classic Raglan with these. The Cozy Classic Raglan is a pattern by Jessie May Designs. It's very size inclusive. I've heard there's so many modifications you can take with it. And with the gauge, it's written for a fingering and lace held together, so a DK total. And it's an 18 stitch gauge. So again, not super loose, but not super tight. And it's just a classic raglan. So I could just see this being a nice, you know, wear to work sweater. something to just throw on to have. I love classic sweaters and shirts. Like I have like 5 of this black v-neck shirt because it's perfect. I can wear it with everything. I love how it fits. And I'd like to kind of find that kind of basic for sweaters as well. So that's what I want to try with this. I also have this slotted for potentially a Stockholm sweater by Petit Knit, which is a drop shoulder, basically. Same idea, fingering and mohair held together, but a drop shoulder. Just a little more hesitant on that one because it's a little less size inclusive, and I really want to nail down the raglan because I really haven't nailed it yet, and I have quite a few drop shoulders on my queue for the next year. So I'm leaning more toward the cozy classic raglan, but if you have another idea for something that I can make with 1,200 yards, let me know. That's kind of the plan with that. Do you see the bubs? He wants to go on a walk, but he's being very patient. So that's what I plan to do with these. I had the fingering weight in my stash for a while, and I finally jumped and bought enough fingering weight to the lace weight to go with this if I want to do something a little more cozy, comfy. Okay, so the next one that I have in my queue is the Kerr Sweater by Rebecca Clow. This was released in November of 2022. It's a DK weight pattern, and it's a drop shoulder in the round, but knit top down. It also has this giant band of color work on the sleeves or across the body, or there's a thinner option as well. I would want to make the thicker color work option, and what I have in my stash is I have this natural merino yarn in a dark gray, and for the color work I have WYS Jacobs Spinner's Fleece in that Jacobs DK that I just bought a random. I have like 2 skeins of this. So that's what I'm kind of thinking with this. The issues that I have is I may not have enough yardage to do these. So for the body, if I do the full length, I may be playing a little yarn chicken with this main color. Also, I do not have enough of this for all the contrasting color work, but I do have this. But this is like this is also natural merino, which is the same as this. And the whites are very similar. So like it might be something where for the sleeves, I might be able to do this versus the body. Maybe they'll look similar enough that you wouldn't notice. I'm unsure. Really just depends how overestimating it is on that yardage, if I will have enough. I also am short-waisted, so I could crop the full-length sweater. I just don't know with the wide color work if the cropping would look weird. So this is one I've tried to find, I've tried to find a pattern to fit this yarn, and I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do. I love the drop shoulder sweater, but like I said, I have a lot of drop shoulders in my queue right now. This is a DK to worsted weight yarn. I have the sweater quantity of this. I originally knit a weekender in this, and that weekender ended up being way too big. It was the first sweater I ever made. It was supposed to be 52 inches, and I think it ended up being like 60 something. It was huge. So I don't know. I have a good amount that I could make a sweater pretty easily. I have 1,200 meters. So I'm not 100% sold on this pairing with the Kerr sweater. I love the Kerr sweater, but part of me kind of wants to buy yarn specifically for it, but I want to use this not dark gray in something. So if you have an idea, let me know. Right now, this is what this is slotted for, even though I'm not 100% sold on that pairing. So this next combo is also one that I've tried to find a pattern to go with what I have in stash. So I have quite a bit of La Bien-Aimée Kumo. in this color. It is a Surrey. It is a lace weight, 300 meters, 74% baby Surrey, and 26% silk, in this really fun painterly color. It's like a beigey mauve undertone with these spots of green and orange and blue. It's just so pretty. So I bought enough for a sweater, but I haven't found the perfect sweater yet. So what I have it potentially cued with right now is the Leith Cardigan by Rebecca Clow. This is a bottom-up, drop shoulder, oversized cardigan, but when I've heard Rebecca talk about it, she's mentioned everyone loves the fit, and it's just a really nice basic cardigan, which I think sounds really nice. So I pulled out, I have a sweater's quantity of this natural merino yarn in like a light gray to hold with this, to potentially do the Leith cardigan in a single color, no stripes, together. I don't know how these will play together. I don't know if this idea will work. That's where I'm at. The Leith cardigan is a worsted weight, and this is a DK plus a lace, so I think it would work out, but I don't know. I love this yarn and I want to use it in something that'll show off its colors because there's so many. I think it needs to be something a little more basic, but I don't know. I think pairing it with the brown would work, but I don't know. I'm a little stuck. So right now, tentatively, this is how these are cued. But again, this is another one that I'm not 100% sold on. So I need to figure it out. I could also just do the Leith cardigan with just this color, which would be nice. I don't know. I have a lot of like fuzzy mohair and Surrey yarn and cues for those, even though I've not made a single sweater with mohair or Surrey yet. So that is something that will be new to me within the new year. But a little more details on the Leith. It came out in September of 2023. It's a worsted weight pattern. And I just love the drop shoulder, and I think the cardigan is just really easy to wear. I think it looks really cute. It looks like a classic, which is kind of what I like. So this is something like I want to make this pattern. I don't know if that yarn combo is the right combo for the pattern, but we'll see. I have the yarn, I have the pattern. Like, is it the right combo, or do I find something else for that yarn combination? That is like the question of this video. So let's move into a few projects that I'm a little more sure on versus these ones that I'm a little unsure on, and then we'll go back to the unsure part. So the next sweater quantity that I have is for the Skyline Pullover by Tori Yu. This is a raglan sweater. It's super cute with like a rib detail down the sleeve. It just looks like a classic fit, but with a little like interest. Also, it's a saddle shoulder, which is something I've not done before. I know it's something where like you knit the panel and then pick up. I've heard it can be really nice, like to knit and to fit. So I'm excited about that. It's crew neck in the round, worked top down, and it's seamless. So that sounds really nice. Actually, I don't know if this is raglan, if it is a shoulder, saddle shoulder. Top down saddle shoulder construction with a ribbing detail that starts at the neckline and goes all the way to the sleeves to the cuffs. It is written for a lace and fingering held together to get you a DK, and this is what I bought when we went to Washington, D.C. in December, earlier this month. I went to a yarn store called Looped, and I wanted to buy yarn for this sweater. So I got this yarn. This is Biches Le Petit Lambswool in the color Gray Melange. It is a fingering weight yarn. It is 50 grams for 270 yards, and it is wool. I guess it's 100% lamb's wool. I didn't look into too much detail, but I just know it's a marl and it's gorgeous. So I also got Isager Silk Mohair, which is a lace weight, 75% kid mohair, 25% silk. This is the color 7232, oh no, it's the color 63. It's like a really warm chestnut. I originally had picked a different color, but there wasn't enough. And there's this slight light orange hint in here, and I think it'll just be a really beautiful sweater together. So this is what I plan to make for that. I am really eager to cast this on. I think it just looks like a beautiful sweater, and this one is a little bit tighter gauge. It's 20 stitches, but I really did not need that much yardage for something that's a bit oversized, which I find interesting compared to like some of these other ones where I feel like I'm struggling, but I'm very excited to knit this one up. Like this one will give me a little bit more confidence in some of the other sweaters I want to knit if if that yardage actually works out. So very excited about this combo. I think it'll be just a really gorgeous tan brown sweater. So sticking with the like nice brown sweater, the next one I have queued up is a Like a Cloud by Joji Locatelli. I've had this in my queue for quite a while as well, ever since I bought this yarn. This is one where I bought the yarn for this pattern, and for some reason I just haven't knitted up. So this is Holst Garn Supersoft. I bought this from Stephen and Penelope in the Amsterdam, the Netherlands. This is the colorway Truffle, and it's 100% wool. It's a nice heathery color. It's so gorgeous. So the Like a Cloud is a cardigan. It's knit top down, and Joji originally designed it to do a lace and a lace held together to get a fingering, but I'm gonna do just a fingering weight. Look, one of the times where it called for a fuzzy yarn, and I'm just gonna go with a classic one yarn. So it's just a really beautiful like knit pearl texture all over. It's seamless, knit top down, and worked flat, but since it's a knit pearl texture, I think it's going to be purling no matter what. It's just a nice long cardigan, which is something I go to quite often in my wardrobe already with ready to wear clothes. So I'd like to knit one of my own with the fingering weight. I think it'll be really lightweight because I've knit one of my M-Cows with Holst Garn, and that is one of the lightest shawls that I have, but it is so warm, and I think this cardigan could do the same thing. It is written at a 23 stitch gauge in the texture pattern, so it is a small gauge and will be a lot of knitting. A lot. But I think it'll be worth it. This might be a nice summer knit. Because this yarn is so light, maybe doing it in the summer would be a nice, even though it's a bigger project, it might be nice since the yarn is so light, but that's kind of my plan for that. So then we'll stay with the Holst Garn theme, and I'll tell you about the next one that I want to make. I thought about this when I was looking through these, is I have this color from Holst Garn. This is the color Navy Heather, and with this one I plan to make a So Basic sweater for Shane. So Basic is a top-down fingering weight sweater by Maxim Cyr. It was released in November of 2019, but it's just a basic men's raglan sweater with another pearl, like a rib texture down the sleeve. So it's very similar to the Skyline, but in fingering weight. For this, I will need to buy like 1.5 more skeins of this than what I have, but I think since Holst Garn is commercially made, buying another one won't be too big of a problem. So that's kind of my plan with these. It's just another nice, beautiful color. If it doesn't work out, I think I'm just going to have to destash this color because it's that I don't have enough to really make a sweater unless I buy like 1 or 2 more skeins. And that's the same with this next color. This is the color Dark Apple, Holst Garn Supersoft. It's a really pretty green. I only have 4 skeins, but I think I'll be able to make a cozy classic light for myself out of this. I don't think I'd be running too short on yarn. I think I'd have to do the crop version, but I think it'll work out, question mark. Like I said, I think I just want to try to figure out a raglan that'll fit me well. And the Cozy Classic Light is very similar to the Cozy Classic Raglan. However, this one is a 24 stitch gauge instead of the nice loose gauge of the other one. But it'll just be like a lot of knitting. And I guess if anything, I could do shorter sleeves if the long sleeve ends up not working out. So that's kind of my Holst Garn sweater quantities and plans with them, because I definitely don't, I want to say tight on cash. I'm a little tight on yardage for some of those, for a lot of different options. It may also be something like maybe I'll make a tee to really use up some of that yardage. It's kind of up in the air right now. But like I said, I just wanted to get yarn combos with patterns, and then if things need to change, they can. So then the next one that I have is I want to make the mini mock neck tank by Jessie Made. I've heard Stacy from Stress Knits talk about this, and because she's talked about it so highly, I want to make one. I have high neck tank tops that I wear under like everything. That's what I wear under cardigans, under sweaters, depending on the neckline. But I love those high neck tank tops, and knitting some of my own sounds like it could be fun and a fun way to use up some of these smaller quantities of yarn that I have. This is a yarn you may have seen before if you've been around my channel, but this is Nerd String, now called Salty Blonde Fiber. This is the color Seaside. It is like a gorgeous gray brown with these tiny, beautiful speckles. And I've just been trying to find a pattern to do with this. I've looked for t-shirts, and I think the mini mock neck is going to be perfect because I could just wear this under things and it would just look beautiful. I think under, like as a layering piece, it wouldn't be too close to my skin tone, and that's what I want to do. So I have 3 skeins of this. I'm looking forward to seeing how this mini mock neck works. If it is such a basic as Stacy is saying it is, I'm hoping like that could be something like maybe I use my Holst Garn and I make another mini mock neck. So this is one I think I definitely will be making as it starts to warm up spring into summer, because I'd like to wear it. And I just love this color so much, and I think just need something to help it shine. So this is the fingering weight base. It's the 4-ply. It's 100% superwash merino, so no nylon in it. So something simple and basic is what I want to do with this, and I love this color. So I'm excited to try this pattern because I do love a high crew tank top. So that's that plan. And this is, it was released in June of this year, 2023. It's a 24 stitch gauge. So it is going to be a bit more tight knitting, but there's no sleeves and it's shorter. So I think it'll be a pretty quick-ish knit. I'm wondering if it is knit in the round, so I think that will help it. It'll be pretty simple once I think you join for those sleeves. I think this one I'll definitely have to think about my flat knitting gauge versus in the round knitting, because if I remember correctly, Knatty knit this, and basically from the top to the underarms on both sides is knit flat. That's what I would assume. So I will definitely have to double check my flat knitting gauge versus my in the round gauge to make sure everything stays the same. But otherwise, I think it'll be a really fun project. It'll probably be really interesting because there will be a lot of shaping from like here basically until you join the round. There'll be like a lot of increasing and decreasing to shape the armholes. So I think it'll be a fun, intriguing knit, and then once you get past all that, it'll just be stocking it in the round, which will then make it fly. So I'm pretty excited about that. Sorry, I was stretching my leg. And if I do really like it, it'll be a nice layering piece and something I can you know, take smaller samples of yarn and make quickly. We'll see though, if I like it. If I don't like it, I won't make multiple. All right, so then the next two that I have are a little more in the air. Whatever that sound was, if you heard it, that would be my cat dropping something. Okay, so this next one is one that I plan to make, but is still in testing, so I can't look up the details. However, I did learn I was able to queue this to my Ravelry queue. So in my queue, it is called the new Samantha Garn design and then you can queue the yarn that you want to use. So this is Re-ply Ramboiullet by Brooklyn Tweed. This is the color Refuge. It's a DK weight, and I bought this when they were doing their Maui Relief fundraiser. So you're able to make a purchase and then you could get a coupon code and then they would donate some of the proceeds to the Maui Fund. So I bought this with no pattern in mind. Actually, I think I bought it with the 6th season in mind, but I plan to make it for Shane. So I want to make the new design by Samantha Garn, which is coming out in January in this yarn. So the pattern, which I'll post the photo from Instagram, but it is a DK weight sweater. It's a drop shoulder with a really fun cable down like the center front and I believe the center back. I'm really excited about it. Again, another drop shoulder. But I think this is just like a basic yarn, so I think something with that little bit of texture will look really comfy. Again, I think it'll be something pretty cozy. And this is a chainette construction, so I think it'll play pretty well with the texture. So that's my plan with this. I don't exactly remember when it comes out in January, but another green sweater for my life. And then the last sweater quantity that I have in my stash that I cannot figure out a pattern to go for. This is Cascade 220 in the color 2452. I want to say it's something like turtle. Oh yes, it's turtle. I see it right here on my screen. I have 6 skeins of this, so I have 1,207 meters. I have no idea what to make. I cannot find a pattern that I want to make with this that pairs well, that I have enough yardage for. One sweater that I really want to make is the Lakes Pullover by Ozetta, which is a worsted weight sweater knit at an 18 stitch gauge, but I really don't think I have enough meterage because for my size I would need closer to 1,300, 1,400 meters and I only have 12. So I don't know. I really want to make the Lakes Pullover. I don't know if this is the color I would make the Lakes Pullover in. I don't know what to do with this yarn. I also want to make an Ingrid sweater by Petit Knit. Again, I don't know if I have enough meterage or yardage to make that with this yarn. I don't know what to do with this yarn. So if you have an idea for a worsted weight pattern, let me know. Otherwise, I mean, this has been in my stash for a long time and I just like cannot find a pattern pairing to go with it. So part of me is wondering, like, is this something that I should just destash? Should I even hold on to it this long? I don't know. I'm struggling to find something to knit this color into. As you've seen, I have a lot of green sweaters in the upcoming year. I have a lot of drop shoulders in the upcoming year. I also would like to hone in on my raglan. And yeah. That's all of my sweater quantities that I have in my stash. What do you think? I see it as a lot of yarn to get through. And some patterns I'm a little more excited about than others. So I'm definitely going to work on those first. And then there are others that are a little more of a learning process, you know, figuring out that raglan shaping. You know, some of those may not be like super inspiring, but I think I would get a lot of wear out of a classic raglan one color sweater. I'm excited to try new techniques like the mini mock neck tank with that shaping. And I really would like to hone in on some of the fit of some of these sweaters. I'd really like to just work through a lot of my sweater quantities in my stash. But yeah, that's all of the sweater quantities that I have. I think there's technically a few others, but things that are slotted for shawls I didn't show in this video. I didn't show any accessories. This is just sweater quantities that are in my stash that I'd like to work through. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I doubt I will work through all of these in the upcoming year. There's also nothing saying I can't. If I find a perfect yarn to make with a sweater, there's nothing saying I'm not going to buy it. I just would like to work through what I have, see what I can make. And yeah. What did you think? Are there any other patterns you think I should consider for the yarns that I showed? Is there something you would pair instead? Like I said, nothing is completely set in stone until I cast on a project, and even then you can always frog. So if there's a combo of yarn that you saw and you're like, Kristen, this sweater would look gorgeous in that, and you have the yardage for it, let me know. Leave me a comment. I love finding new sweaters, especially, you know, if something I didn't know about. New patterns are always fun. You know, I can scroll on Ravelry all day long, but I also love personal recommendations. If you've made something and you loved it, let me know. Just keep the conversation going in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you found this interesting. I hope maybe I gave you a little inspiration. What are your goals for 2024? This is one of my big ones, is to like be a little bit more of a sweater knitter in the new year. I knit a lot of socks currently, so I'd like to move a little more toward working on sweaters, because I have these sweater quantities, so I might as well knit them up. But let me know, what are your plans? Let me know if you have any other pattern suggestions. I'd love to see them. And thank you for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please support me on Ko-Fi if you'd like. I love all my supporters over there. Thank you. You help keep the lights on and shipping costs for all the prizes over here. And yeah, just thanks for hanging out. I hope you enjoy the last little bit of 2023 if you're watching this in 2023. And I hope 2024 treats you well as well. I'll see you guys soon in my next video. Happy knitting!